welcome back to the channel. It's Steven from Berserker's Beasties here, and today's project is going to be our Oscar tank. So this has our albino red Oscar in it, and there's also about a 10-inch dojo loach in here. And when we set this tank up, I really liked how this really coarse rock looked on the bottom, and the more it's been up and the more we've had to maintain it and do maintenance on it and everything, I really don't like it. I have sand in every other tank that I have set up. Why I didn't go with sand, I don't know. Bad choice. So we're gonna have to fix this today. So I've already gone in and taken out all the large rocks that go in this tank, and I've bought 100 pounds of pool filter sand, which you can use pool filter sand. I've used that before. In this tank over here, I have paver sand, so it's a little bit coarser. I like the way that looks in there in that really heavily planted tank. Since this one doesn't have any live plants in it, we're not really going for anything that needs to be able to hold roots for plants. So we're just gonna go with regular old pool filter sand in here, and it'll be a lot better for that dojo loach since he scoops across the bottom and has no scales. It'll be a lot easier on him. He hasn't hurt himself yet on any of these rocks in here, but it's better to not have him hurt himself than anything else. So what we're gonna do is I've got a bucket that I'm gonna fill up with water that's in here, and then we're gonna have to take out the last little bit of stuff that's in here and suck the water down, the water level down, until we got probably, I don't know, about down to here, and that should make catching the Oscar and the dojo loach a lot simpler. So the first thing we got is just our regular old water siphon here. Slide these rocks out of the way here, and I'm going to go ahead and get my siphon going to fill up this bucket, because this is what the Oscar and the loach are going to sit in temporarily until we get ready to go. And if you've never used one of these, most people, including myself, I guess when I'm in a really big hurry, just kind of use the straw as a hose to start the siphon. But the easiest way to do it without sucking up a lot of fish water is just push your siphon in there, let it come up to where there's no air bubbles inside the siphon, get a good bit of water in the hose, plug the hose up, pull it up straight, and we've got water flow. Now, being as this is going to be a standby tank, I don't want to do any gravel vacuuming or anything with this, because I don't want as little nastiness inside this water as possible. All right, so we pretty much got this full, as much water as I want to have in it without overflowing it. So just go ahead and pinch it off and drain the siphon out. So now that we've got this done, I'm going to swap over to my other siphoning system, and we'll get all that set up, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got my hose for my other siphon system run. I can't use a Python or any of those automatic siphonings in my house because none of my faucets have a hookup to be able to use one of those, so I have to do this the old school way. So we'll just go ahead and take the glass lids off of here. These will get all cleaned up. I'm going to slide the light back so we don't lose all the light in the tank. And then, just so nothing crazy happens while we do this, I'm going to go ahead and close the ball valves on this canister filter and then unplug it. And now we can go ahead and start siphoning the water out of here. And just kind of the same way that we did it just a minute ago, we'll take the siphon, put it in here, try to get as much of the air bubbles out, get some of this hose in here, and then if we do it right, we can pinch off this hose, pull this out, and we're pulling a siphon. Okay, so now while we're siphoning out all the water, we've got another clean bucket over here. We're going to pull out everything else that's in this tank. Got some algae on it. We'll kind of rinse some of the bigger stuff off before we pull it out. I didn't want to run too much plants in here because if you've never had Oscars before, they are completely disrespectful to your aquascaping. They really don't care how much time or effort or what you think looks pretty. They will ruin it because they're all about their home and they don't care what you think it should look like. So we'll go ahead and pull our wood pieces out here. Put them back in, put them in the bucket. This is another reason why I'm not so much worried about doing this substrate change, is because most of, if probably 90% of my beneficial nitrifying bacteria is going to be in the filter, and a large part of it is going to be inside this driftwood here. This stuff has been in here since we set this tank up, so it's really heavily saturated with everything, with all the microfauna and everything that it needs to have in it. So that's one thing that I'm really not worried so much about, not having this tank properly cycled. Just to make things a little easier on myself, I'm going to go ahead and start gravel vacuuming some of this heavier sludge and nastiness out of here. I know, Oscar, you're very upset. I know. You'll notice as I'm doing this, I'm trying not to disturb the loach and the Oscar as much as humanly possible. I still need to get in here and do what I need to do, but I don't want to stress them out any more than I absolutely have to. So that's why I'm trying to be real nice and easy with the gravel vacuuming and not try to be too quick or get too close to them or move towards them real fast. That way they can kind of just slowly move out of the way. Now I've got the water level quite a ways down. Now is going to be the fun part, which is going to be to try to catch these two guys and get them back in this tote right here, which they're not going to like whatsoever. Come on, big guy. There you go. All right. So here's our loach. We'll put him in here and chill out. And Oscar here might have to go in with my hands. Come on, big guy. Well, made a fool out of me. Easy, buddy. Easy. See? No need for all that mess. There's no need for all that mess. He is absolutely gorgeous. Alright, there you go. Okay. And also, since we're completely changing the substrate out on this tank, we're gonna go ahead and get all the rocks out of it. I do have the heater unplugged just in case anybody was wondering. I'm gonna throw the heater inside this tote here to make sure these guys don't get too cold. But we're also gonna do a thorough cleaning of this tank. We're gonna scrub down the glass, get it all nice and pretty again. Glass tops, everything. So it should be beautiful when it's done. So side note, as we're letting the last bit of this drain out, if you're new to fish keeping or you're new to animal keeping at all, whether it be fish or snakes or lizards or anything like that, reptiles of all shapes and sizes, you will find out one thing very quickly. 5-gallon buckets, especially with the lid, are not only worth their weight in gold, they're worth your weight in gold. Absolutely invaluable to have special, only use 5-gallon buckets for your reptiles or your fish keeping. That's why I actually buy 5-gallon buckets from all over different places, because they're different colors for different things. Helps keep them separated. Last bit of water is drained out of here. All I'm going to do now is just start scooping up the gravel, putting it in a bucket, and then I got a spot in my backyard where a little bit of gravel is not going to hurt anything. And also towels, specific towels for fish maintenance. Absolutely wonderful idea. Okay, so now that we've got all the gravel out, well, 99% of it, there's still some of it in there, but that's all right. It's not really gonna hurt anything. I think you'll more than likely won't be able to see it once we cover it up with sand now. Now we'll just take our wonderful little razor scraper and we're gonna go through and scrape all the glass, make sure it's all nice and clean, and then we'll take our little SOS pad, Scotch-Brite pad, whatever name you want to use for it, and we'll go back over, get the rest of the little bit of fine stuff off of the glass, and wipe it down with a microfiber towel. No chemicals whatsoever. I won't even use. I've heard people say that you can use a light vinegar diluted solution on the inside of a tank as long as you make sure you clean it back off. I personally don't even like to take that risk. So no chemicals whatsoever, just water, a little bit of elbow grease. That's done with the razor scraper. So now we're going to get, and it's really, I found one of these, got an extendable handle on it. This has been absolutely great, especially since I have several different size tanks. Usually the short one on a big tank, trying to reach around, get into some of the corners. Short one's really tough, but then if you get a longer one, when you're in some of the smaller tanks, you got to try to bend it around, tweak it around, try to get it into some of the smaller corners in the smaller tanks. Really a pain in the butt. But finding this one here, it's got the extendable handle on it, has been absolutely wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to go on with the Scotch-Brite part. You always want to make sure that you get the Scotch-Brite scratch resistant, or else then you're going to end up getting a lot of scratches in your glass. And even doing something like we're doing here where we got sand and everything on the glass, we still want to be really careful to try not to put a bunch of scratches in it. Done with the Scotch-Brite. It's still pretty nasty, so now I'm going to go grab one of my microfiber towels and we'll wipe down the inside of the glass, try to get some more of that film off of it and see if there's anything we need to go back over, any spots we may have missed. So we got our microfiber towel. Quick note on this, but I am very particular about things that I use for my animals. Like my microfiber towels, I have a certain that I only use for cleaning tanks. And when they do go through the washing machine, they go through the washing machine with like regular laundry, and then they also go through 3 rinse cycles with hot water to try to rinse out any excess soap or anything that might be transferred into these towels. And I have yet to have any problem doing it the way that I've been doing it. But like I said, I'm very particular about what I use with my animals, so I always want to make sure to put their health first. And any kind of chemicals or anything, I always do my extra due diligence to try to make sure I don't put any of that stuff inside or near my aquariums or my other animals. So this is just a dry towel. There's absolutely nothing on here. So we're just gonna wipe it down. Okay, the rest of this stuff is just hard water spots on the outside of the glass. And while I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and check my light. Even though I do have glass lids, I always like to check to make sure that the glass on my light is still clean. There's no hard water spots or anything on it. And then when we get done, or even now, this towel's got a little bit of water on it. I can go ahead and just wipe some of this that's on here. The wonderful thing about using a microfiber towel is if you don't just go gung-ho on wiping stuff down, the towel will pick up everything. You won't really drop anything inside the tank. So as long as you're not using any chemicals, you don't have to worry about dropping stuff inside the tank. This side, for whatever reason, always has a little more buildup on it. So since I'm gonna have to be a little bit more rough with it, we'll pull it outside over the top of the tank. And we'll be a little more rough with it to get the rest of it off. All right, we'll check to see how our tenants are doing. They're still doing good. So what you didn't get to see was, like I said, I had all the rocks from in this tank in the bathtub in dechlorinated water. So I just scrubbed them all off, and then I dumped the hardwood in the water and got it all cleaned off. And now I toted the 100 pounds of pool filter sand we have. And even though I'm gonna leave this last little bit of water in here, because it has all the good bacteria in it, it will help to seed this pool filter sand when we put it in there and it gets all mixed in. So now, one small scoop at a time until we can get this thing light enough to where I can actually pick it up and then dump the rest of it in there. So we got all the sand in here now. All I'm doing right now is kind of trying to move some of it back to the back to kind of give it a little bit of a slope toward the front. Kind of helps give it depth if you don't know anything about aquascaping or anything like that. The slope down helps it seem deeper. Now, a lot of people would suggest filling it up halfway and then scaping it. Myself personally, I'll just go ahead and scape it for the most part, and then as it fills up and settles out, then if I need to make any fine-tune adjustments, I will. But Oscar really doesn't care how you scape his tank as long as he gets to go back in his home. So I think first thing we'll do is we'll go with this big tree stump here, and I think we'll go ahead and put him right back here in the corner. And then we have this larger log. I think I want kind of look like a tree. Roots are coming up out from this side. And then we'll scatter the rocks in as we need them. Put that like so. Put a couple of rocks over here just to kind of break up the wood a little bit. Really don't want that up against the glass. And then I think towards this side we'll have kind of a larger rock pile. These red rocks out front here. It's kind of a nice color catch. Then we have our plants. Finally able to find the base for this one. I wasn't sure where it went before. And just because we don't know if that one's going to try to float away, we'll stick another big rock right down there on the bottom of it. Kind of hold it in place there. Small rock right over here. And this little guy here, put him right there. You right back here by this tree. Take this smaller lily pad and put it right up here in front. Little one here. I think we'll put him over here. All right, so that's us scaped. Which I'm not sure how I like this. Let's see. Make this a little higher. I think I like that for now. I've got some smaller black river rocks that we're going to sprinkle out through just to add a little bit more texture to the bottom. And now we'll start filling it up. Now normally when I'd be filling up the tank, I would have a bowl that I'd put the end of the hose in to help diffuse the water so it doesn't stir up everything quite so much. But I can't seem to find my bowl anywhere. So I'm going to try to put it right here on this rock pile and hope that'll kind of do the same thing. It's going to blow some of the sand out from underneath the rocks. That I'm not really so much worried about, but we're also going to try to turn it on at a real low rate. So this is going to take a little while to fill up. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It's a little faster than I'd like it to be, but it's also not really gonna hurt anything. So what I'm gonna do now is we'll just take the hose and we'll rinse down the inside of the glass and we'll let it fill up. Another note that I wanted to go over is this is not something you would want to do unless you're kind of in my situation, where I was just so unhappy with how this tank was to maintenance. And to be honest with you, I really wasn't all that pleased with the aesthetic either. The rocks looked good, but I don't think they looked as good as I was hoping they were going to. But you don't ever want to change this much of an established aquarium, because you're going to have problems with your cycle. You're going to lose a lot of the nitrifying bacteria because the biggest majority of your nitrifying bacteria is in the substrate. A lot of it is in the filter also, but the biggest majority of it is in the tank itself. It's not suspended in the water. So anybody that tells you, I cycled my tank because I used tank water out of an established tank, that has a minuscule amount of nitrifying bacteria in it. If you wanted to try to do something like that, you take a large section of the substrate out of an established tank, or decorations, or even take the sponge or the floss media filter or media out of your filter and just throw it in your tank. That way you can have a lot of that nitrifying bacteria just dumped into your aquarium. Now, I'm not saying that you should ever just throw it together, throw your filter media in there and be like, okay, I'm good, my tank's cycled, because it's not. It takes time for all this stuff. That's why it's a cycle. It takes time for everything to get back into rhythm. This is a small chunk of nature in a glass box. So it has to do everything that happens in nature has to happen in this glass box, and everything like that takes time. We can do things to try to help speed that up, but you still have to do your diligence about making sure that your tank's going to be cycled. Now, myself, I'm an experienced fish keeper. I've been doing this for a long time, so I know the danger that I'm putting my system into, which is why I'm going to be doing water tests on this every day, making sure that my water parameters are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on my livestock that's in here. I only have 2 animals in here. I have the Oscar and the Dojo Loach, but they're going to show me signs that something's not right in their tank. And if something starts to happen, I can evict them into a quarantine tank that just a glass bottom with some really clean cycled water into it. I'm going to have to do water changes on that constantly because the ammonia amount is going to skyrocket in such a small aquarium, especially with such a messy fish as an Oscar. But I have backup plans that I can do if this starts to go bad. I'm very confident that it's not going to, but I'm also a realist in the fact that I know this is a natural thing. Things are going to happen. I have to be on my best behavior or my best guard to make sure that my animals are taken care of. And this, like I said, this is not something that you want to do unless you're in the situation I am, or if your tank goes completely bad for some reason and you can't nail it down and you have to tear it down. Well, what are you supposed to do with the animals that you have in there? You have to do something with them, and then you need time for your aquarium to recycle and get back going to where it is before you put your animals back in it. Like I said, I'm not really worried about that in this situation, because I'm doing everything that I know to do to make sure that I put myself in the best chance for success as I can. So we're going to let this fill up, and here in a little bit I'm going to go ahead and put the heater back in it just to try to get the water to start warming up. It's been very hot here lately, so even the water coming out of this whole hose is not cold by any means, but it's also not warm either, so this water is going to need to warm up. So I'll put the heater back in this tank. I'll go get my small backup heater that I have and put it in the tub that they're in to make sure they stay nice and warm. And then I also will not put these animals back in this tank until I know that at the very least, the water temperature is where it's supposed to be. This is going to be a very big shock for them, and I want to try to make sure that we minimize that as much as possible. So we'll check back in with you once this thing gets closer to being full. One thing that I'm noticing since this has been filling up is it's starting to settle out a little bit. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my small gravel vac and I'm gonna go through here and try to just suck up some of this nasty sludge that's sitting on top of the sand. One of the nice things about having sand is it's such a fine medium that the waste and particulate just floats down and sits on top, and you can take your gravel vac and just nice and easily skim over the top of the sand and suck it up without sucking up all your sand. Never a bad idea to have a second bucket on hand. We'll call that good for now. As it fills up and settles out again, we may or may not have to go through and do a little more tidying up. So now we got about 6 inches of water left to go. I'll fill it up probably about here or so, and then I'll shut the hose off and we'll let it run and top it off with a bucket if we have to. But now that I can see where everything's at, we'll go ahead and add some of these Black River rocks just to give us a little more texture. Good. So we're right at the bottom of the outflow. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it off, call it good right there. I didn't say it before, but also before we got started, I poured a cap full of dechlorinator inside the filter shortly after I shut it off, just to make sure that when I kicked it back on, all the chlorinated water in here wouldn't kill all the wonderful bacteria that's inside the filter. So we just throw a little bit extra in there just to make sure that we got it all cleared. The chemical that I use, I love, is Prime by Seachem. It's great for marine and freshwater. Removes chlorine and chloramine, and also detoxifies nitrate and nitrite. So this is one of the best products you can get on the market, in my opinion. And this giant bottle I've had for 5 months. It's like one capful does 110 gallons, I think it is. So I just put a capful in here, and that's way more than enough. So we'll let it run, and so that's all we're gonna do tonight. We're just gonna keep an eye on it, make sure it levels out before we put our guys back in their nice new home. And we'll check back again with y'all tomorrow after this has had plenty of time to clear up, and we'll show you how it looks. All right, the day's the next. We've been letting it run all night and most of the day today. Still a little cloudy, but most of that's just a really fine particulate. Might have to get some water Clarify to help bind that stuff up so the filter can pick it out. But let's show you guys what it looks like. So there it is. It's clearing up nicely. Really liking the way the rock piles on the bottom look. And the big tree stump over here in the corner. You got the Dojo Loach. He's liking his little caves over here. Oscar's still kind of grumpy because we messed with his house so much. So he's hiding over here in the corner. But yeah, it turned out really good. If you guys like this kind of videos, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. We'll keep putting videos out. Like I said, we've got the aquariums, we got the snakes, we got the lizard, we got the rats even now too. Gonna be adding some more stuff up. Biggest thing we got going here lately is next week, NARBC, Dallas. We will be there. Gonna be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Hopefully we're gonna find some cool stuff out. We'll try to do a vlog type video through it, NARBC. Take you guys along for the ride if you've never been to a show. Show you what a show is all about. Other than that, it's been a good video. I'm really loving the way the tank turned out. Hope it looks even better once it completely clears up. I'm Steven with Berserkers Beasties. We love you guys. Be good.